I'm totally with you. And in fact, that's what that the New York Times article, "It's not always depression, sometimes it's shame," was the same story, that shame is so insidious and we all have it, and it's learned in a context, and it goes hand in hand with these traumatic moments that when we are left alone with too much feeling, we internalize that. Instead of knowing that the environment was toxic or bad for us, even when our parents loved us and did the best they could, right? Those two things can go hand in hand, that we internalize that, and we feel it as shame, and it's invisible. I had the same experience. I didn't know from shame. I was so defended against it for so many, we defend against it, basically. We block it with all sorts of um, uh, different ways. I can speak for myself that whenever I felt anyone was getting near my vulnerability, like for me to feel sad, or for me to feel like I needed something, and I was so proud that I would never, it was very hard for me to say that I needed something, and I would get this kind of crusty tightness. And of course, it's under those any type of tightness that we get, it's where all those tender experiences lurk that are so excruciatingly painful to have us be seen, right? Shame just says we cannot be seen in that sense of being less than. It's so painful. But if we can just recognize the feeling, or recognize the defense against the feeling, and we have a little education, to me, that makes a big difference. That, okay, I may not be able to stop the feeling, but I can at least, I've read about shame, I understand what it is, and this might be it. And even though I'm feeling it, and I just want to crawl into a hole, maybe there's a little space for the intellectual understanding that I am probably experiencing shame, even though I feel like I am the lowest piece of whatever on earth. I can hold on to the fact that it's a feeling, it's not true. Because if you read enough about shame, you'll know it's just not true, but it feels true. And that little bit of space in knowing it might make all the difference in the world, to be able to do something to, even at home, to get yourself out of it. Like I put a lot of free resources on the Change Triangle YouTube channel and my website, which is hillaryjacobshendel.com. It's just a resource center to understand about emotions. And when we're triggered into a terrible state, and we don't have a therapist, or we don't have a therapy session until next week, what I write about and what I do myself is to try to come up with reliable ways that I can try to change my state a bit, if not totally, just a little bit more wiggle room. And those are just simple to do things that with trial and error, you find the state changers that work for you. And they range from exercising, right? We hear all about that can just change your state, where you felt awful, into something where all those endorphins and the chemicals are being released into the brain, to masturbating, which releases all those great endorphins, or having sex, or making yourself a cup of hot tea, or listening to music, or taking a hot or cold shower, holding ice cubes. This is in the trauma world, some sort of tricks to get yourself out of a state. But just any reading. So you want to find the things that when you at least know I'm in a terrible state, that you have the wherewithal to try to change the state. Because it's a neural network that got lit up from a memory, or likely from a memory dovetailing on a present situation. And if we want to figure out how to shift the brain into another neural network, basically.